All right, let's get started, and then people can jump in. So, those of you guys who are here, let us know in the chat where you're coming in from. I am personally in Del Mar, California. Just arrived this morning. I just arrived here literally half an hour ago. Got them to find a room that was already and available at 9:30 in the morning, so I could come in here and do the live stream with you guys. I just managed to get breakfast with the group. I'm here for one of the mastermind coaching programs that I'm a part of called Boardroom. And so all the other guys are in the room. I just managed to get some breakfast and then hit this to be with you guys. We got Stavanger, Norway. We've got Warwick, New York. All right. It's almost home. Cincinnati, Ohio, middle of Canada, Cabo Verde. All right, Queens, New York. Is it good to be back home, Bryson?
Oh yeah. Like I just jumped off the plane too. So I just got here.
It's crazy.
Very happy to be here.
We were just together. Bryson and I were just together in Austin for a mastermind group. Another mastermind group that I'm a part of called War Room is put on by a company called Digital Marketer. Ryan Dice, Roland Frazier, and Perry Belcher are the partners on it and on that mastermind. And this was the last meeting ever. I think it's been going on for 14 years. I've been a member since 2019, and this was the final one because they're splitting up. And Perry is starting his mastermind group called Driven, and then the other people are starting theirs called Founders Board X, I believe. And it was amazing. It was this was by far, I've been to a bunch of these events before. This was by far the most successful one for me ever. And I'll get to that in a second. But I don't think I told you, Bryson. So when I got up this morning, I got down to the lobby to wait for my car to the airport, and I bump into Perry. And so he had just been speaking to Kazim. So Perry is for all of you guys here, Perry is a old school big name marketer, co-founder of War Room, has now created his own mastermind group. He's been in this game forever and is very, very good at it. And we started chatting in the lobby, and he's like, he'd been speaking to a friend of mine, Kazim, in between, and he was like, oh, now he kind of connected the dots and understood who I was and what I was doing. And he's like, oh, Simplero, yeah, that's super cool. Like, let me know if you want me to promote for you. I'm like, dude, fuck yeah. Fuck yeah, do I want you to promote for me? So he was like, yeah, here's my cell phone number. Like, and like anytime you're in Vegas, just stop on by and like we'll connect and figure it all out. So got his phone number, texted him, followed up. So definitely expect something to happen there. And I'm sure Bryson is like, what's your reaction, Bryson?
I don't say this respectfully. I think it's awesome. Perry's like a god. He's like at that top tier. So it's like the fact that he was so cool about it and he's willing to do that. I'm pumped because we were just looking at some stuff from Perry's last week. Yeah. And doing our best to innovate. And so to be able to have that direct connection, to be able to help what we're doing at Simplero is going to be amazing. I mean, it's going to be crazy. His list, he's probably got millions access to his list, so it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, no, it's super cool, and I think so. The lesson for me is, because I've been a member of this group for like I said for 3 years, and I haven't really managed to connect with Perry and with a lot of other people in that group, and really leverage the connections in that group, because there's probably 250 people in the group. I'd say a good third of them either would be or should be our customers, or they have our customers and should be promoting us to their customers. And I haven't leveraged that at all. And Robin's asking, what group is it? It's called War Room. And it's just now ended. This was the last meeting ever because the partners are splitting up. So yeah, I haven't leveraged that at all. And I was thinking about like why that is. And a big part of it is just my unworthiness issues and my sort of hiding issues and like, I'm not good enough. And by extension, the thing I've created is the product I've created isn't good enough. And one of the things that really changed it for me was these two brothers that I've mentioned before, Daniel and Isaac Pompa, who discovered Simplero like 2-3 years ago, and then built a business from zero to $20 million in 18 months on Simplero. And they're by far our biggest customers, our most financially successful customer, and become really good friends with them. And it's just been super inspiring for me to meet them and to hear them reflect back to me the power of what I've created. And now that has given me the confidence to now go out and actually show up in a way where with confidence and pride, and just connect with people. And now, like on this trip, there's probably like 8 different really valuable connections that are going to become partners in some way, right? Most of them referral partners or use the platform, and in some cases like even deeper partnerships. Plus, just like much more fun. So many people that had insights or ideas or connections, etc. So I really got thinking about, to me, the whole game in business it's always those inner shifts that that enable the outer stuff, right? Because it's not like I'm familiar with JV partnerships and affiliate partnerships, and we have an affiliate program and all of that. So it's not that that's any news to me, but there was an inner shift that happened that all of a sudden made it so that I was able to go out and actually make those connections and those relationships. Yeah,
That's crazy, man. That's beautiful.
yeah.
So I got this question for you. So what was it like the other years? Because how many years were you going to War Room, you said? And what was the different shift from, last year and years before versus what happened this past week?
Yeah, it was, I mean, so like I would talk to like people here and there. It wasn't like I wouldn't talk to anybody. But I wouldn't be going after people. So now I'm like, so the other thing that the Pompa brothers helped me realize was how specifically what I've created with how we handle payments in Simplero is like heads and shoulders above anyone else in the business. You can't do it if you use Stripe to run your payments, just Stripe kind of proper. You can't do it with Recurly or Chargeify or Thrivecart or like any of those other platforms there are out there that are, even those that are focused specifically on payments, they don't have the flexibility that Simplero does. And that opens up this whole other area of going after organizations that do high ticket sales specifically, because we're just a perfect match for them. And so now having that in my head, like everybody I met, I was like, oh, you're in sales. Like, all right, let's talk about this. Is this the problem that you have? What do you experience? And especially the people who consult on sales for others, because they will have those people as our clients that we want as our clients there. And so now I was just able to confidently go after and ask them and talk to them about it and say, hey, is this a thing for you? And have that conversation. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So would you say it's like you found a way to express and articulate the value that you had internally that you may have been struggling to find or to figure out how to fit into that room or to those areas?
Yeah, and it's funny because like it's been part of my journey too and I don't know if this is, I think this is universal in some level, at least it's common. I want to check with you guys out here. Because I know for myself as well, it was a struggle for many. I really struggled with self-love, right? I could not bring myself to love myself. It was just not a thing for me. I was very self-critical, very self-judgmental. And I remember the first time I was, reading or watching or seeing Louise Hay talk about mirror talk, and actually looking in the mirror and saying to your own face, Calvin, I love you, right? I really love you, Calvin. And it was just so wild for me to do that. It was like, it felt so violating even, almost. I don't know. Have you done that, Bryson? Have you ever done that?
Oh, no. Well, a little bit. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Un poquito. When you were talking about a couple of weeks ago on Unfiltered, when you talked about making the shift in wealthy thought, rich thinking, how you told us to say, that I'm rich, so you can get comfortable saying that. This when you were in Denmark, and so I definitely, started trying to do that so I could really embrace the proper wealth mindset.
Right.
But I struggle with that too, though, man. I mean, it's like your story is like, I feel like I'm just watching myself trying to figure out how to let's do this because I suck at that, man. Like big time, like super big time, man.
It's so easy to be self-critical, right? We all get taught that, and it's like, if your best friend, if your friends treated you the way you treat yourself, would you really be friends with them? Like having awareness on that inner dialogue and how we relate to ourselves is just so critical. So yeah, it was like when I went through that, going from just my learned normal state of being this like very self-critical, self-judgmental, self-hate, there's just no room for self-love at all. And in the process of transforming that, having someone like one of the breakthroughs was, again, someone else mirroring back to me that I was worthy of love. That was a wild, like that was what started opening my eyes to, oh my God, maybe there is something here. Maybe I can allow that. And it's kind of the same pattern with Simplero. Like we're really having these brothers, and then other people started coming as well and share their love in that way. With that really got to me. We're like, whoa, this really is freaking cool. And it's really funny how that works, right? It's not surprising that when you go around hiding and when you go around feeling unworthy or not good enough about yourself or about the stuff that you've created, your products, your services, then like probably they're not going to sell that well, right? They're not gonna fly off the shelves because people feel that. So
it's hella true, man.
Yeah,
dude, can I share? Like, I struggle with that.
yeah.
Like, I know we had a conversation a while ago, and I was telling you that well, even struggling at that mastermind, because I mean, for everybody online, it's like, full of ultra successful people, entrepreneurs, marketers, just doing amazing things. And here I am, Calvin invited me, and I'm just like, I felt like literally the bottom of the totem pole, like literally. And that's like it was extremely like uncomfortable for me. And I struggled with it even this past week, man. Like I'm trying to really be present and be whole in an environment where I feel like there's just so many giants and I'm just the grasshopper. I don't know how to, and I didn't know what affirmation to say in the mirror or something like that, man.
Right. No, I totally.
How do we deal with that?
Well, and then like, but the thing is that like I know you're a religious man, right? Your God gave you certain gifts to give to other people, and then when we're shitting on those gifts and we're like, oh, but I'm not good enough and I'm not worthy and all these insecurities, then we're really rejecting God. We're really rejecting the gifts that we've been given. And I don't think that's what our God wants us to do.
But I mean, that's real. And I feel that, but it's like, what value can you bring to the table? I mean, it's like,
that's the thing. Because I think like when you think that way, you're looking in the wrong place, right? Because you are the value. Just your presence, your being. I think that's such a critical thing to understand in the business that we're in. Yes. Yes, we offer certain solutions, right? We offer like specific tangible things, like we get you a result, but to a large extent, what the real value that people get is from being in our presence. I think that's true for all of us. And if we allow that to be the case, like if we allow ourselves to show up and just own that, hey, my presence is really what's impacting people here. Like I think of it as like the FM radio waves, right? There's a carrier wave, and then there's like all the little waves on top of it that makes it the frequency modulation that makes it actually like that makes the signal, that makes the thing that people listen to. It's kind of the same thing here, right? Your product, your service in my case, Simplero, in your case, like your marketing skills, like what you do for marketing, that's the carrier wave. But the real value, the real juice of it is in your being, in your presence.
Wow.
And for you especially, Bryson, right? Because like you're a super deep person. Most of the people in that room are very, very successful marketers and make, you know, millions of dollars, and they get hammered every night, and their relationships are crap, and their health is crap, and their relationship with themselves is crap, and they're not happy. And here you're there sitting with the keys to the kingdom, literally, right? Or I guess figuratively in biblical.
Literally.
And you have the power to unlock that for them just by the way that you show up. And you don't even need to say anything or counsel them or anything, but just by your natural state of being and being real with people, you can go into that room and unlock these people. 100% you can, right? Without even trying. But if you go around hiding and be like, oh, I don't make as much money as these guys, and you compare yourself in just that one metric out of a million metrics, and that's what you focus on, you make yourself small from that, and then you never get around to actually giving your gift. It's a bummer.
Wow. That's deep, man.
Yeah. Is this resonate with you guys?
Can you see the chat, Calvin?
I can.
Okay, because Anne says, speaks right to her heart. Candace, oh yes. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, lots of good feedback.
Mm-hmm. So cool.
This is great, man. This is great. So like, and so in business, like, how does this like show up then? You know what I mean? Like, because for me, like networking, like I mentioned, is like because I felt that shift. Like, how does this impact like people on a regular basis as far as entrepreneurship goes, or building a business? Like, how does it show up like that?
Well, I think it's that feeling that when things are aligned right, it becomes easy, right? It becomes almost effortless. So like Perry is launching this mastermind group, and one of his partners is Kazim, who's a friend of mine. And so I was like, I just got this idea the other day. You know what? Like Simplero is a perfect platform for a mastermind group, because like most of the groups I'm in, they'll have the courses on Kajabi, and then they'll have maybe a community on Facebook, and then they'll have a page somewhere on a WordPress site that describes some of the other benefits and coaches and whatever, and then you can then schedule them using Calendly or whatever, and they have all these different tools in order to do that. And instead in Simplero, and you don't even, like in a Facebook group, you don't really have a directory. Like I can't say like who is a member of this group that lives near me, or I'm going to, you know, San Diego, who in this group is a member in San Diego, so I can reach out to them and grab dinner with them when I'm in town. I can't do that on Facebook. And so, but Simplero solves all of that, and we could do a few things that would solve it even better. So I just reach out to Kazim and say, hey, like when you're doing this new mastermind, well, how about we put the membership site on Simplero? What do you think? And he's like, that's a great idea. I hadn't thought of that. Let me talk to Perry. Perry says yes, and we're game. We're in game, and it's super easy. And then I was like, I want to get to know Perry better. So I found him during lunch and sat and spoke with him, and it was a little kind of awkward conversation, and he didn't really connect the dots. And then I let it go. And then this morning, like I said, I get up. I had to catch a flight at 7 a.m. super early, not as early as Bryson's. And then who's there in the lobby? Perry. And I just walk over and talk to him. And then he's like, oh, now he talked to Kazim, and now he knows who I am. And then he's like, yeah, let me know if you want me to promote. And so the other part of that is, one of the things I've noticed too is how much anxiety I actually had that I wasn't aware of. Like I noticed how I had this time scarcity around me. Like I noticed it when we were together at Traffic and Conversion. We were there a few weeks ago, and there's all this stuff that I wanted to get done with you guys who were with me. Bryson was there, Beth was there, Deanna was there, the four of us together. There's also the conference and the talks, And then there's all the people that we ran into and all of that stuff. And just, I noticed like, I wanted to control that and like, oh, but I want to make sure we get time. And then people wanted to have lunch and then they wanted to go to the talk. And I was like, it was really hard. And I was like, what is this stress? Like, why do I have this time scarcity going on? And so I was just like, let me let go of that. And what ended up happening during that week was things just unfolded like magic. And it was the same experience here. I wanted to connect with Perry. I tried to kind of force it a little bit because I got anxious because I saw him carrying around a suitcase and maybe he was leaving and he wasn't going to come back and I would miss my opportunity. And so I tried to force it and that got a little awkward. And then it just like the universe just provides that opportunity and it just becomes easy and effortless. And that's really like, so starting with that, noticing about that time scarcity mindset, that got me to think to notice other areas where I was still stuck in scarcity mindset and release that. And then even bigger, just noticing, for me, it's like noticing when I tighten in my body and my belly and just, oh, wait, I don't have to do that. I can just trust and let go and trust that the universe is going to do its thing. And that's been sort of my mindset and my awareness for a while, but there's another layer of holding and controlling that I only uncovered recently. And so for me in business, as well as in life, right, is when you do this and you practice then it becomes effortless. And I feel like the universe is always trying to give us the best of the best. And all of our controlling is really getting in the way of that. It's preventing it from doing its thing. And so this has just once again proven that to be true for me. Did that answer your question at all, Bryson?
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Cool. We got to raise hand from I'm not going to try to pronounce your name. I'm sorry.
Okay, I would like to share something.
Yes.
I know this criticism of myself very well.
Mm-hmm.
It has been bad today, but I have been running a course for some years, and I'm not happy how I would like to have sold more of it. And then we were talking about the price. Is it $400 or is it $600? Or what should we? And then there was some session here that you talk about the high, what you call it, high
Tickets.
value.
Yeah. They call it high ticket here. Yeah, high price.
Okay. So I said, okay, either I stop this or I hire the price from $400 to $4,800.
Nice. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, kill myself. And it sold and it sold and it sold and it sold.
Wow, that's amazing.
I had to block it, and now there is a waiting list for that is bigger than that. Yes, this was amazing.
Wow, that is so amazing. I'm proud of you. Good job.
And this is because of this talking. We have had to change my mindset somehow. And you also shared a little book, a woman running a dancing school.
Yes.
Yes, and she started to go from students to teaching the teachers, and that was exactly the idea I took, and it was this way.
Wow,
yes.
I'm so happy to hear that. Congratulations. Hey, can I ask you a favor?
Yeah.
Can you tell me how to pronounce your name?
Yeah, Gardar.
Gardar.
But people call me Gassi.
Gassi, okay. Is that Icelandic?
Yeah.
All right. Sweet. Thank you, Gardar.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, appreciate you sharing that. It's amazing. That is incredible. Yeah, it's really powerful what pricing can do. Bryson, do you have experience with that?
Oh yeah, just a tad bit. Yeah, we ran a campaign a couple months ago for a client, and we were trying to basically get like a couple $100 to consult with other nonprofit organizations. Then we said, you know what, screw it, let's just do a whole year coaching class. Again, something that I got from one of the shows here. And we charge $2,500 for it. And so we got like 5 people to sign up for that versus trying to struggle to get $300. So just like the power of high ticket, and it's a real deal. It's an elixir.
It is. It really is. It's funny, and it's so much more fun to make a lot of money than it is to make a little money. I've been thinking about it too with Simplero. Like we get people who come to Simplero and is like, this is way too expensive. But then we have people on the other end, like the 2 brothers that I was talking about who made 20 mil in 18 months. They're like, dude, this is way too cheap. They're paying us less than $4,000 a year, and they're saying you should be charging us at least $100,000 for this, right? Like that's a big difference. They're like, but maybe you can wait. Maybe you can charge other people. No, but they're like, seriously, like we should be paying over $100,000 for the software because it's so powerful. And yet there are other people who use Simplero who complain that it's too expensive. So it's just a matter of like, who is that person that you can sell to that would derive a lot of value from it, and that would gladly pay, 10x, in this case, from 4,000 to 100,000 is what, 2.5x, right? Like 25x. Am I doing the math right? Like, so there are people who would gladly pay 25 times what it currently costs, and there are others who won't even pay what it's currently costing, right? That's really interesting, because you don't need nearly as many other people who will pay 25 times as much as you need of the cheap ones of the other ones to make a good living. So yeah, we're definitely going to do something with our pricing where at the high end, the price is going to go way up for those people who need some of those advanced features. We're not going to, like, anybody who's currently a customer, we're not going to change your pricing. Don't worry. We're not going to do that. But as like a pricing strategy, yeah, like figuring out how we position ourselves so that people see the value of it. Because like if we're being compared to companies like HubSpot or Salesforce that are like very, very, very expensive comparably, then like people look at Simplero and they're like, how can it be this powerful and it's good if it's this cheap, right? It just doesn't compute. So, and that's just how the psychology works. Again, don't worry, we're not going to change your prices. We're not going to do that. Yes. All right, Anne, you got Anne.
I don't know if I know my question. I just feel like everything you talked about today was just so good and spot on for my life. So, or even in my business. So I just wanted to, well, I guess I'll pick an angle to go at with you. From the day I've come on to Simplero, I love how transparent you are. I love how you are so real. And that, first of all, I love the product, but then to have like the CEO just be so phenomenal. And that's always what I tell people when I'm telling them about Simplero. So I'm just wondering, and you're so, I feel like you're so comfortable with that, like just really sharing and all of who you are and the details of your process. So how did you blend that relationship? Is what I want to know. Because it's so, it just solidifies, I feel like, even the Simplero experience of confidence in like, I love the direction of this. I feel like I'm getting the transparency of truth in the industry and as a human being.
Yeah, I think for me, it's kind of my natural instinctual state, but I also get insecure from time to time where I'm like, oh shit, like we're not like, I'm not good enough, or I'm not this, that, and then like try to hide or get a little pretentious or try to like be something I'm not. And it just never feels very good. And like the whole thing about like, you have to be inauthentic or like skirting the truth or whatever to make a sale has always just sat wrong with me. I just, for me, it's about relationships. I really believe in, if you build the relationships, and relationships comes from trust and just being honest and authentic, like then that's going to carry you. And if it doesn't so be it. Like, I mean, we're going to be fine, right? Even if we don't make as much money as someone else, like I'm going to be totally fine. And I'm going to be so much more happy just being me and building real relationships with people like you and not feeling like I have to pretend something I'm not. It just feels so much better.
So how do you reconcile? Because sometimes I feel like, okay, how much is too much that they're really not like, so you kind of, I feel like come from the assumption they want to hear more from me than just about Simplero. And then you even kind of like take this program, say, if you have real specific questions on Simplero, go, I have a team built to help support that. And just the way you always show up is that it's a generosity of spirit, as if people want to hear more from you than just, there's like a fine line to that, I guess, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, people self-select, right? So those who do, they show up, and those who don't, they don't, right? And that's fine. Like if people don't care, that's okay too. My feelings are not going to get hurt. I think so. One of the exercises we've done is what's called the character diamond, which is a tool from script writing and storytelling, where you that's how you define a character to make them a little more nuanced. And we've done that for both my personal brand and for Simplero. And one of the character traits on that for me is oversharing. And it's definitely a tendency of mine, right? It's just, I tend to do that. And so just embracing it and be like, that's who I am. I overshare, right? And sometimes it's like some people are going to find a little much and other people are going to find it endearing. And regardless, it's who I am. It's just my tendency.
Then that's where I feel like it would seem like, I would assume, but then that's where I have the same feelings, is that you would walk into a room and have all this confidence because you're so transparent. And so you've got a great product, you got a great company. Your articulation is so resonant. So anyway, that's why it was so good hearing everything today, because I can relate to every single thing that you were saying. So what would you say about that? I don't know. I don't even know what my question is totally, but it's just such a great topic.
Yeah, I think we all have those triggers, right? That all of a sudden makes us feel small, like or wrong or something, right? Like that for me, definitely money has always been one of them. It was like growing up with this, like I remember at my first wedding and on my second marriage and final, but at my first wedding, my mom was seated at a table with a bunch of people, and then she goes around the table and she's like takes it upon herself to introduce everybody to each other. It's like, hey, this is so and so, and he's very successful because he does this, and this is so and so, and she's very successful doing this, and blah blah blah, going around the room. And then she gets to my best friend. His name is Ulf, ULF, and she's like, and this is Ulf, and it's just Ulf. And at that point for him, he was at a low point in his career. He was studying biology, and then that was going like no jobs, not a good career. So he has transitioned into IT and was feeling like absolute crap. And so for him to be the only person around this table not being labeled successful was devastating to him.
Yeah.
But I'm sharing that story because that was the mindset always for me growing up, is how successful are you? And success is measured in specific results, preferably financial. And so much pressure for me to be financially successful. So that's been that hook for me, like same as with Bryson, right? Walking into the room and just feeling less successful than everybody else. And this group is a group of marketers. And so they're all really good at marketing. And I'm not a marketer at heart, right? I've studied it and I kind of know stuff by now, but I'm a product person at heart, product and customer service. Back in the day, I got into online marketing, 2008, and went super deep, went to a bunch of events, studied all the things. And then in 2010, I was like, these people are all assholes and they're full of shit and they're lying and there's no integrity. And I don't like any of it. And so I just withdrew from that whole world and focused on product and customer service and completely neglected marketing. And that wasn't necessarily the smartest strategy. Like if I had to do it over, I would have stayed in that world and just stayed in my truth and in my integrity and just been a beacon for something else in that world. But that's not what I did. So I chose something else. But what I'm finding is that there are all these other companies out there. I was hanging out with the CEO of Kartra the other night. She's very sweet. Her name is Sarah. And she's in that group as well. I've spoken with quite a bit with the former president of Kajabi, Jay Cron, who's also a good person. And these are more people who come from the marketing background. There's a product out there called High Level, which is crushing it. They're growing like weed, and they're also marketers first. And all of these products are kind of not that great. All of a sudden, by me standing in my power and my strength and my truth, all of a sudden, it's very interesting to these marketers when they show up trying to be, oh, look, I'm a marketer, I'm as good as you guys, right? Then that's not going to get me very far. But if I'm like, yeah, you're really good at the marketing, I'm actually kind of shit at that. I enjoy it, I like it, but I'm not very good at it, but I'm really good at the product, right? Now, all of a sudden, there's a very interesting thing that can happen there. Part of that too is that I wasn't that good at product like a year ago. I've only gotten like a really major unlock in my ability to create product this year after Ben left, who was our product manager, who's a great guy, but who I promoted to be head of product because I didn't know how to lead a company. And I was like, there's an org chart and there's a product team organization and there's only one person. So I've got to make him head of product. And that meant all of a sudden there's all this expectation that he should be setting the direction for the product and all that stuff, which he shouldn't. I should, because I'm the one that knows the marketing and the business and software and the engineering and I know all of it. And so by stepping into that leadership of leading product, and I've over the past Q3 got really, really, really good at building product. And we're going to build something that's far better than anything else out there. I've looked at now all of them, in looking at High Level lately, looked at Klaviyo and Active Campaign and all of these other platforms that are out there, HubSpot, et cetera. They're all kind of crap in their own ways. And I'm able to build something that's so much better than any of them. And so by owning that and then partnering with the people who are really, really great at marketing, it's going to be fun. It's going to be
That's
really
awesome. That's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I always say, just as a side note on Simplero, is that people don't realize that whatever technology you get into and you grow with, you sort of get married to. So it's hard to uncouple that easily. So I always say, with Simplero, and I can't even imagine the direction it's going to go. I'm like, start out right, because before I switched, I researched all of them on the market. And that's why when I knew, I'm like, I'm in it for the long run because I understood the power of this product. Yeah.
Love it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks, Anne. All right, we got Jennifer. Let's hear it.
Yeah. Hi, everyone.
Hey.
So I want to piggyback on something that Anne was bringing up initially. And so there's different styles of leadership. And she was commenting that your style and a style of a lot of people that I know, like, and trust and like to follow, is being really real and transparent with your current struggles, even while you're also being very successful in various ways. And I have different mentors. I have a mentor who is well, anyway, so that's one style. Another style is to not talk so much about the current struggles. You might talk about your struggles in the past, but you're not necessarily talking about your struggles now. And so this is a dance that I'm also playing with and not really sure where I land, So one of the gifts that I bring.
Can I just say, I'm 100%, I'm so totally on board with that. And one of the reasons that I do it is because I used to put people who were more successful on a pedestal and use that to make myself feel insecure. And so one of the things that I want to demonstrate to people is we all have this shit. We all have these feelings of insecurity. We all have the same stuff, right? Like you don't need to feel bad about it. And I think there's two layers to it. There's like whatever we have going on, and then there's the shame around that, right? It's like whatever wounding or triggers or insecurities or crazy beliefs we have. And then there's that layer of like feeling bad about it. And if I can help people not feel bad about it, then that's a win for me.
I get it. I think that's great. I just have my current struggle around it because as someone who, one of my gifts is transforming challenge and pain into powerful, like empowerment and action. So it's important that I share that there's a coming from a place that's a challenge that gets transformed. At the same time, as I get more and more visible, and I'm a flower essence practitioner and not a lot of people know about that. It's growing, but I have this part of me that's like, oh, if I share my current struggle, they're going to think that like the flower essences don't work or something.
Yeah. No, I get it. I've felt the same, and I've heard the same, and I don't share, like if I'm feeling really down today, I'm actually, if I were, right, I'm actually sort of in the feeling, I'm not going to share from that place. I'm always going to share from a bigger container that sees what's going on and doesn't have any attachment on like, oh, this is going on, right? And then I'm sharing stuff that is very recent, but not actually right this moment, if you know what I'm saying, right? Like I'm not in this, I'm sharing as I'm overcoming it every time, but then coming out of it. And what I find is that sharing it right when it's fresh and I'm just coming out of it, that's when it's most juicy for me to talk about. And that's when it's most inspiring to me to talk about. And I think for that reason, also inspiring for other people to hear about. And I'm sure there are going to be people who hear it and be like, yikes, like, I don't want to deal with that guy. Like, how can I trust this person to lead me or whatever, because like he still has struggle or whatever. But if that's you, then you're not for me, right? Like we're not for each other if that's your thing. And I would argue that if that's your attitude, like it might just be a hey, I choose to not work with people who have like are still struggling with that kind of stuff, and you're just kind of neutral about it. That's cool. Usually it's some, again, emotional trigger on their part that says, yikes, I don't want to deal with that, which in itself is something to work with if they were willing to. But either way, I'm like, I'm totally fine. I don't need to be for everybody.
Right. Yeah, and that's part of the growing invisibility. And this book that I was just reading that talks about that, I forget what the title is, but it's basically saying like, be unpopular, like go for being unpopular, meaning like
100%.
go for just connecting with the people who you really jive with. And it's like, don't worry about everybody else. That's all you need, is to connect with the people who jive with you. But it's so scary to get more visible.
Mhm.
And so everything that has been brought up today is really resonating with where I'm at right now. I joined a mastermind group, and Bryson, just like you, I'm like at the lowest, like in terms of if you look at certain markers or measures of success right now, they're like way ahead of me. And every time I purposely joined this group to be in that energy, to understand like what is happening here, what are these people doing, what does contribute to them being in this place. But anyway, so my mentors are telling me that, because I have a high ticket program, that I need to keep aligning with what I'm offering. It's like I'm not secure enough inside, to be aligned. So I'm getting there. I'm taking all of these awesome steps, and I'm noticing that with the steps that I'm taking, that I'm getting more aligned and it's getting more effortless.
That's
But
fantastic.
there's this big leap.
I think it's a very powerful strategy or tactic, is to do exactly what you're doing. And like for me, the one of the big breakout moments for me was in 2019 when I went to Necker Island, with Richard Branson and a bunch of other very, very successful entrepreneurs. And all of this stuff came up about insecurities of these people who had, one of the guys literally had 7 private jets. I'm like, why do you need 7? He's like, because I see one and I like it and I want it. And I'm like, all right. So lots of insecurity for me around that, plus just being, I'm a programmer. I got really, really good at programming because I was very emotionally broken, right? Like I was scared of humans. So I sought refuge in computers that I can control. And I got very good at it for that reason. And so being on an island with a bunch of strangers for a week, and I basically couldn't escape, right, was really like, it really brought up all of my trauma. And so my favorite thing to do whenever that happens, so, you know, back to you, like putting yourself in that room that's going to trigger all of your issues. And then what I like to do is this technique that I call time travel, which is I go into a room from away from people, or you can even do it like quietly in the background if you want to. But then I really feel in my body what the feelings, the sensations in my body that this brings up for me. And then I close my eyes and I go back and just allow the earliest memory from my life to pop up from when I had the same kind of feeling. And then I freeze time in my mind, picturing that scene. And then I, the adult today, come in and I take care of little me back then in my mind's eye. And I sit down with him and I tell him that I love him and that he's safe and he's going to be okay. And, you know, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. That's okay. But he's going to come out the other side. He's going to be fine. And even though, like, basically be the adult for him that I wish someone had been back then, but nobody was. And for me, that has been like doing that sometimes just once. Like the rule for me is that I can't change the events, but I can be that support and comfort that he had deserved, that he would have, you know, would have been good for him in that situation. And then like unfreeze time, let it go, let it happen, and then connect with him maybe after again. But doing that even just once can sometimes just completely alleviate these things for good, sometimes a few times. But it's just a powerful, powerful exercise. I'm sure you have something similar.
I do have something similar, and it is so powerful and so beautiful. And you're reminding me to do it more.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
as so visible, this little girl, I'm sure, is getting triggered.
Right.
You know,
and you know what?
Yeah, she's the one that's afraid that like nobody wants to hear what she has to say. And
exactly. Yeah. And she learned that from someone back then, right? And then that's the sad thing. Then we keep doing that to ourselves just because someone told us like 40 years ago that nobody cares what you have to say and that you don't matter, or like, you know, whatever that was. And now we keep doing it to ourselves forever until one day we decide, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm actually going to care what you have to say. I'm actually going to listen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually did that. I just remembered now that you said that. Back in April, that was the last time I went to the meeting with the same mastermind group here at War Room. And that was near here, actually. It was down here by San Diego. And at that time, also, at that meeting, I really got triggered a couple times by people who were much more successful than me, and other things that happened. And so what I did was I actually went to my hotel room and I did this, and I connected with my little boy, and I helped him and talked him through it and comforted him, and I journaled a little bit, and reached out to one of my mentors that I was working with at the time, and just talked it through with her as well. And then I went back into the group, and then I revealed what had just happened. Then I shared that with some people, and it really resonated with them. And they were like, yeah, me too. I often get triggered in the same way as well. And like all of a sudden, instead of having these like, oh, look how much money I'm making, like constant conversations, all of a sudden we were having some really deep, intimate conversations with some people who were ready for that.
That's awesome. And I know that this was the topic for today. So thank you for sharing again about you doing your inner work and how you bring the inner work to, creating abundance in other ways.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, my pleasure. Yeah, I was thinking too with Bryson, with the whole abundance scarcity mindset. I know it's something that people talk about in our world, right? But I think it's we can still, for me anyway, I've discovered how there really were deeper layers to it, not just with time. Another scarcity thing that I realized that I had going was just like leads, like new people into the community. Right? It was like I had this thing going like, oh, leads are hard to come by, and like Facebook ads are expensive, or like it's hard. And I think a lot of people in our community here have certain similar kind of like scarcity mindset around that. And if you approach it from that angle of like, oh, it's hard, then yeah, it's going to be hard, right? Because you're manifesting that for yourself. And then as I noticed that, I'm like, I'm going to change that mindset. Like there's 8 billion people in the world, right? It's not hard. There's lots of people out there, and not all of them need Simplero, but a lot of them do. Not all of them need, what are other things I have to offer, but a lot of them freaking do. And so, and I don't need all of them. I just need, the right ones for me. And so, and then I bump into Perry in the lobby, and he's like, if you want me to promote Simplero, let me know. And like all of a sudden stuff like that shows up, and it just becomes easy and effortless. And like, and so many people, like there's several other people like that are just like, okay, like we need to help you market this thing because like you're clearly a better product person than you are a marketer. Let's help you out. So, and that happens. That happened after letting go of that scarcity mindset.
That's powerful, man. That's powerful. You know what? Do we have time for one more question? We got a hypnotherapist on that was talking about how what you're saying is relevant. Maurice, come on, man. Maurice has been killing it in the comments. And so I would love to hear this dynamic between you two.
Yeah, happy to. Just really quick. So appreciate what you shared. And I don't know if you're just doing it masterfully about not bringing in therapy, because I think when people hear the word therapy, they hear broken and a whole bunch of stuff comes up and it's just crap. So to hear you describe what you described as time travel, one, is just way more cool. But two, how much that compares to a very, very specific process called timeline therapy of deep personal healing to the very, very core. It's that process. So the fact that you do that on your own, I was just like, where did you learn that? Is that from actually therapy and you're not bringing it up? Or it's just like you figured it out? But whatever it is, I think it's fantastic the way that you're sharing it, because that is the subconscious programming that is needed to reframe for that deep level of healing and reframing to happen. So just thanks so much for describing it so awesomely. I'm going to steal it. I'm going to describe it that way from now on, because it's less intimidating. But really, thanks a lot.
Yeah, appreciate it. Appreciate you sharing that, man. Yeah, I think I learned it from a spiritual teacher that I worked with back in 2007, 2008, and he would do that exercise with me, and it was always very powerful. I don't think he ever gave it a name. He would just do it, and so I've dubbed it time travel from myself. But yeah, to me, it's like is it therapy, or is it like whatever? For me, it's just whatever works, right?
Yeah.
Whatever works to bring about those shifts and that healing or clarification. The way I think about, like, the only thing that can heal us is consciousness and like the only thing that can heal the body is the body itself. The only thing that can heal our emotions are our own consciousness. And so what I've always found is it's just getting that conscious awareness on it, like shining the light of consciousness on whatever it is, and then life just takes care of the rest. It was that experience for me as well with learning to love myself, which still a journey, but the breakthrough for me was realizing that self-love is the natural state, and it's figuring out what is it I'm doing to not love myself unconsciously. But if I get an awareness of what it is that I'm doing to not allow love, then that is going to start to dissolve on its own. And that's really all I need to do. And so all I need is just noticing how I'm not loving myself and finding within myself a willingness to love myself. That's it. Life takes care of the rest. Appreciate you coming on and sharing that, Maurice. That was great. So
my pleasure.
We're at time. I'm gonna go over and be with the group. I was just in the room, chowed down some breakfast, and then dashed off again. And I'm sure they're like, "Wait, what happened?" So I'm gonna go over and say hi to everybody and do that. And I hope that you all have a fantastic Thursday. We're gonna do this again next week. I think there's gonna be one. I really want to make sure that we do it every single week, no come rain or shine, but there is going to be one on the 17th of November where the New York City really wants me to come to traffic court to talk about a red traffic light violation on a bicycle in Manhattan that I can't seem to. I could pay $290 to get out of it, but I'm also a little, now I want to go see how the court system works. So I'm going to go dispute it. So I'm going to miss that one, but I'll be here every Thursday otherwise. So it's great to spend time with you guys today. Appreciate you all for showing up and for sharing. And yeah, go have a phenomenal week. Go crush it and love yourselves. Bye, everyone.